can you hear me?
I can, which is always a good, first step in a podcast.
Yeah.
I think I can make a bet.
Okay.
I'm gonna bet that for the first time in this Apes series, you're not gonna go on a tangent on how Rise and Dawn were in the reverse order. But I mean, it could happen.
I mean, well, hang on. Well, I can't just say, "Can you hear me?" and then you're like, "Yeah, I can hear you." Anyways, so you had you had your ears removed today. There's an earectomy.
An earectomy.
Yeah.
That sounds weird, but no, my ears are back in working order. So I suffered from male selective hearing.
Yes.
It's curable. It's curable. I'm here to say there is a cure.
It's all good. Yeah.
What the cure is, I don't know.
So honestly, full disclosure, and we won't go into any gross details, but what you had done today, I've been looking at having done for I mean, I say looking at having done, I haven't it's not like I've been pursuing it, and
that's right.
You had your ears cleaned today.
Yes. Yeah.
And because you were having a fight with your wife, and she said, "God damn it, Pete, clean out your ears." You never listen, and you're like, "Okay."
Oh
so you made the appointment. No, the working theory is that I have some hearing damage from years of working jobs working jobs in which I was constantly bombarded with really loud sounds all the time.
Right.
But I've also never there's it's a thing that happens all the time apparently, right? Like I'm pretty sure our local ER department is constantly flushing out people's ears.
Well, I think I'm just guessing, but even in the seasonal times too, where it's someone's at the beach, you get water in your ear, and then there's sand and all kinds of garbage in there.
The sand gets caked with earwax and doesn't flush itself out, all kinds of right. And so I don't know, and I know I assume that I have maybe a buildup of wax, and I don't know, maybe I would have it removed, and all of a sudden I would be like, oh, this is what it's supposed to sound like. This is are you freaking I'm a superhero now? But because they always say oh, you shouldn't have to do anything with your, because listen, I very carefully, and I get that maybe there's no such thing as very carefully, and even very carefully, you're still causing issues. And I use Q-tips occasionally, maybe once a month I'll use a Q-tip. I don't go very far in, but enough that, I'm pulling a lot out.
Jeez.
And they're always well, I mean, I don't, what I'm saying is a lot, and what you're picturing in your head could be two entirely different things. But enough that I'm oh, well, that's gross. And everyone's
I feel we also should have put a bit of a I feel like we should have put a bit of a trigger warning in.
Oh, it's earwax. It's not. I'm not.
I don't mind. Listen, I don't mind. But if someone's eating their lunch while listening to this,
oh, whatever, man. Protein. I assume there's protein in it.
Sure.
No, but they're oh, you shouldn't have to do anything. Your body naturally deals with the earwax and blah blah blah. And I'm well, there's times where mine don't. So I don't know. I'm thinking about having it done. But also, you're saying you're not feeling 100% now.
That's just I think that's a me thing. I just have
it makes sense, right? Your inner ear controls your sense of balance and your everything else. So
yeah,
if they,
I'm not so hot with rides anymore. I used to be when I was younger, and
rides?
So yeah, my vertigo. I've got a
roller coaster rides and stuff. Amusement park
so
rides. Okay.
I'm not great at anything. I watch my son, and he does flips ups and downs on gymnastics things, and I'm ready to puke just by watching him.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
hello and welcome.
Welcome to the Movie Man podcast. I am Peter. My contemplating reading brochures on ear removals is Brady. My co-host is Brady. And
purely cosmetic. Purely it's a trend, and I'm gonna get ahead of it.
Are you gonna get the Van Gogh?
But no. Both sides are nothing.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can't paint.
We are here to continue our journey in the Planet of the Apes series. And I can say
penultimate.
This now. I was just about to say it's the penultimate.
Yes.
It's been a long trek to get through the desert here to where we are in the modern movies, the more recent movies. I'm excited to talk here today. War. I'm excited to be one step closer to Kingdom.
What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing, say the monkeys.
Yeah, apes.
Dang dirty ones, too.
Yeah, man. Like, we got one more to go. And it's the one that, there's been several that neither of us have seen, but it's the one that it's the newest one out that neither of us have seen, and both had to make a conscious decision not to go see it in the theater.
Yeah,
in light of the fact that we were reviewing it, right? It's not like, we didn't decide to go see it. We had to decide not to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm stoked. I'm stoked to see that one.
I am too. And I'm curious to see after all these films where it goes. If there's going to be some connecting of the dots between Charlton Heston and War for the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I doubt it. Although, you know what? When this movie ended, I was like, okay, in the original series, obviously things start to happen in the sequels to the original, right? Like by the time you're into like Escape and Battle and Conquest and whatever else. Mm-hmm. There are things where you're like, oh, okay, it's not the same continuity, right? Mm-hmm. Like it just doesn't, it can't be. This one ended, and I was like, you know what? So far, like if you look at the original film in a vacuum, if you don't take into account a lot of the sequels, which is kind of like, that's kind of a trend. It's kind of a thing that we do, right? Like you'll see films come out all the time. There was like 13 Halloween films. And then 6 years ago, they're like, okay, we're going to release a Halloween film. And it's a sequel to the first one, right? Like it ignores all of this other stuff. And that's not the only series that has done. Terminator's done that, right? Where they're like, no, okay. Screw Terminator 3, 4, 5, and 6. This one is a sequel to Terminator 2. Right. If you do that, I see no reason why this can't be the origin of the Charlton Heston film, of the first Planet of the Apes film.
Well, and so here's the thing, and we'll get to initial impressions in a second, but we're bringing this up, so this is the time to chat about it. Yeah, like I think I was a little upset, or disappointed, I should say, because we watched the old ones, and I had this hope that there was going to be a lot more connective tissue, that, they're not necessarily connected, but there's could be more fan fiction, or there's
a lot of Easter eggs, right?
A lot of Easter eggs, and there have been some. And I would say this movie at least connects some things where you go, okay, you get some. In the 2011 one, you had the news clip of someone going out to outer space, and you had that direct Easter egg.
And they're lost now or whatever.
Yeah. In this one, you specifically have an offspring named Cornelius that, maybe the timeline of generations isn't going to line up, but at least there's, that kind of partly connective story element. But then also, like you're alluding to in this, like there's plot elements where, like where this virus has spread, humans who are affected by this strain no longer can speak, and they're mute, and that's exactly what we saw in the original adaptation. So there's some things.
I don't think the virus of the cats and dogs stuff, I don't think that's explained in the first one. Right? Like, I don't think it, I think that's like a second or third one even. So the fact that the virus is different than what it was in the original series is still fine if you're looking at it in a vacuum.
No, I don't know if it's still okay. Like, I think that would still be a disconnection because you're. Like,
I just mean to that one, to Charlton Heston's Planet of the Apes, like to that one film.
Right. Maybe not to the continuity, but like to Charlton Heston's movie, it's not an issue. Yeah, no, I could agree with that.
There's also another big name Easter egg in this.
Yeah.
Right? We have a girl named Nova.
Okay, so I'm drawing a blank. Who was that in the original series for us?
Nova is the girl that Charlton Heston gets funky fresh with.
Oh, man. Dang.
Right, which is obviously not this girl because that film set like another 1,000 years or something in the future, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not the same. It's purely an Easter egg, and it's purely Matt Reeves further driving home. These aren't connected.
Oh, man. I forgot about...
that's a big...
I forgot about her name.
It's a big connection.
I mean, to be fair, Charlton Heston forgot about her name too, but...
Yeah. Well, it didn't matter, right? And I don't even remember in the original, like, how she gets that name. She sure shit doesn't tell him my name's Nova. Right? She can't talk.
No.
It's just the way Charlton Heston likes his women, apparently.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Initial impressions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Best Planet of the Apes film we've watched so far.
Oh, wow.
There are some issues. Some oddities, I will say. Some things that I just like, and some of it's I'm gonna bitch about a title here.
No, okay. If
no, not about the other two. I'm going to bitch specifically about this title.
Okay.
Yes, I'm gonna bitch about the title.
Sure.
I'm going to mention. I'm going to mention the other two titles, but not in a bitching way. I just think something really funny happens in this film.
Mention them and move on.
Yeah, I will. It's just something really funny that happens. No, and of the three of the trilogy, right? Like, we watched the first one, the 2011 one, and we were like, wow, there's the odd sort of wide or like static shot that Caesar looks pretty good in, but for the most part, it kind of doesn't hold up. Like,
no,
we're a little underwhelmed.
No, it does not.
In Dawn, we saw improvements.
Oh,
but there was a lot of jank still. Like, there was a lot of it's clearly CGI. Like, blah blah blah.
I don't want to interrupt you. Continue on in your impression, but it was pretty drastic though. Like, the improvement between 2011 and 2014 was pretty significant.
It was pretty significant. But it was, I would say it was like a 60% increase. And there was still a lot of crap, right? Like, there was still a lot of like, I don't know.
I don't know. I would agree with that, but continue.
This one is 150% increase even over Dawn. Like,
wow.
There's one or two shots where I'm like, what? Like, you set this is a really important scene, and you set it during you made the lighting that's hard for you to pull off believably. But then there are other shots, like even where there is an ape and a human looking face to face, and it's a profile shot of the two of them, and I'm just like, this is confusingly perfect. Like, this is insane. Mm-hmm. And so I'm very curious to see where we go in the next one, because frankly, if it's somehow worse, right? Like, if there's a step back, then I'm going to be like, oh God, it's going to make it that much more obvious that the CGI in the next one's not good because it was so good in this one. But yeah, all in all, to wrap up my initial impression, this is a really good film. It's much better than Dawn. for a number of reasons. And I'm excited to talk about it. What do you think of this film?
Interesting. I feel like you and I have flip-flopped from my impression of the previous film to this one and your impression of the previous film to this one. So I feel so as far as naming nomenclature, you had some issues with the previous ones. If the listener is interested, go back and listen to that or any episode of the show where you've mentioned it.
Yeah, well, it's just that I think the title of the first two should be swapped, right? And I think they're named out of order.
I've heard some people say that this movie is incorrectly named too. And for the longest time I was of agreement. You know, there's no real war that comes, but honestly, I think it's perfectly named because it's honestly about Caesar's war, his internal war. You see him change of who he was. In this movie, he kills Ape. He's coming back for blood. He's fundamentally challenged of who he was before, and he's just fighting this internal conflict. So I think it is about a war. It's just about a war that he's fighting internally. But I feel like this previous film, the one that we saw, just Dawn, I felt that one was more captivating, was a bit more superb.
Wow.
Just from beginning to end. This movie, I feel like didn't have the tension, didn't have the didn't have, you know, the stakes that the previous one had. This one kind of felt like you did on the previous one. For this movie, I felt it was a little bit more of a filler sequel. It was a hollow sequel, and, you know, from like the narrative perspective, I just thought it was a bit of a pause or a standstill and just kind of waiting for things to happen, and nothing really occurred from like a progression point of view.
Wow.
So I think, just wrapping up my initial impressions, a problem that stuck out to me was when in the ending we've got Maurice saying, "Your son will know what you did for us." And the issue I have with that is I took exception to it because it seemed like Caesar was actually on this trail of like revenge and somewhat even like suicide, like he's okay if he gets killed. And it's not that he had the intent of doing the things he intended to do. He just, by chance and circumstance, the way he did it actually just kind of worked out because his I almost said his people, but his group got captured, and that worked out to him actually saving them in the end. But it was really by luck and happenstance and circumstance and coincidence that his actions ended up being successful for his group and leading them to the promised land. And it just felt like such a weird storyline to hang your hat on, where you go like, hey, you're dying, but your legacy of your son will know what you did for you. And it's like, well, you didn't really do what you intended to go out and do. It just ended up a lot like coincidentally aligning with what you did. You ended up saving your people by getting lucky. So I don't know. I had some issues.
What are you talking about? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm so stoked to talk about this.
Yeah. Well, okay. Maybe this is where we go with it first. And this isn't the way I'm going to ask it metaphorically. I just want to ask this. With him, he had a child who was killed, and it sounds like he wasn't even convinced of it at times. Like
wife.
And wife. He knows his wife is dead, but even at times, correct me if I'm wrong, he was thinking that there's maybe a chance his son is alive. If he's there, he's going to be at that compound. But
no, that's Bad Ape has a son that might be at that compound.
So yeah, Caesar then, okay, you're right. Caesar knows his child is dead.
Yeah, he sees them both lying there.
So do you not think, is there any moral implication of going on a revenge trail when you're leaving your only child behind? I mean, I get it. His wife and other child were killed. I get the anger. I get the rage. But at the end of the day, he goes off and wants to go pursue Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
What, like, I've never been in that circumstance. Hope I never am. But what is your thought process for, well, even if you're successful in your revenge and then you eventually die, You're leaving your only remaining child fatherless, parentless, alone.
That's going to happen either way.
Not if he stays with the group.
Yes, it will, because Woody Harrelson, because he was with the group when he lost, like, he was being with the group doesn't mean anything. He was with the group when his wife and other son were killed, right? Woody Harrelson has made a very clear declaration of war against these apes. And so if Caesar does not stop that, if Caesar does not ensure the prolonged safety of his people, Woody Harrelson will just come back, will return, and the death count, the toll against Caesar and his family and his colony will be probably even bigger next time.
I'd argue no, because that will happen if it'll happen if they don't leave the waterfall. Like, they know where you are, that spot's dead. But that will happen if you do not leave the woods. They're not staying there. They're leaving. They've scoped out a new home. It's far from the humans. They will never be bothered again. That was the plan. So that's where the group went off to. You can argue if that was going to be successful or not, but
yeah, I think it's a stretch for them to assume, and there we will live happily for the rest of our days, right? Like,
yeah, but that seemed to be their goal. And I'm just saying, is there no? I'm not here to shoot shots at Caesar, but I'm just saying, for the parents in the room, to the parents in the world, to those who can read a story or hear a story about parenthood, is there a moral obligation to saying, you know what, I have to make decisions where I'm aligning myself to be with this child and not setting them up to be a complete orphan?
I mean, I think it can go either way, right? Like, I think obviously the separation between him and Cornelius is not ideal. And in a perfect world, his wife would still be alive and Cornelius would stay with his mother, and then Caesar would go on his quest. I think the quest is important for the story for two reasons. One is because it humanizes Caesar, right? It's one more step towards human emotions, human flaws, human, right? Like, you as Pete, right? Let's say you don't live your nice suburban life, good job, nice family, whatever. Well, you do have a family, right?
Yeah.
But at some point, someone who who this person is, and you're in a policeless society, right? Like, it put you in a similar situation to Caesar, but it's you and your family, and someone comes and eliminates members of that family, eliminates your wife, eliminates one of your children. I'm not saying that you would do the same thing that Caesar does. I'm not saying that you would go off into the night seeking blood. But you as a human would you would not be immune from entertaining the notion, right? The desire to lay hands on the person who did that to you and did that to your family would be there, 100%. And anyone who says that no, I would never even consider revenge. It's bullshit. You're lying to yourself. I think the vast majority of people would not go enact that revenge. Would maybe run and hide with their family. But that's not who Caesar is. Caesar has always been, since the end of the first film, he is the leader. He is the one responsible for for taking care of everyone. And so in that, he's got this sort of maybe inflated, but definitely increased warriorness to him, this increased sense of protection, and he's already tried the nonviolent route. He's already tried I want peace. We're not going to kill these men. We're going to return these men with a message saying, look, just don't pursue us. We don't want this war. We don't want to fight you. Right? But we will fight if it means, and he says this very specifically in this film, I will only fight to protect apes. And so that's why he goes off. He goes off to do that. Now, there's also, it's important because you talked about, like, your justification for why the title of this film is apt is that it is the journey that he goes on. It's the internal journey that he goes on, where he realizes the similarities between him and Koba at the end.
Yep. And
then has his Luke Skywalker moment where he throws down the weapon and still chooses. I mean, there's an argument that could be made that he's not killing the Colonel because he thinks that this is even worse for the Colonel than if he were to kill him, right? The Colonel wants him to put him out of his misery, so maybe Caesar is being like, no, suffer, you bitch. But I kind of, that's not how I view it, not how I choose to see it. I choose to see it that Caesar doesn't gun down the defenseless. That's never been who he is. And he realizes that not doing that is crucial to ensuring that he doesn't become Koba entirely. And yeah, so he has his like redemption arc and all this stuff. And if he wasn't flawed, if he didn't make those flawed decisions of going after revenge in the first place, then there wouldn't be that internal, like there'd be no growth for him to have. There'd be no internal war, right? It literally would be a film, a dumbass prison break film with
listen,
no connection to any kind of battle.
Right. And listen, I will agree. It would be a very different story if he didn't do that, and probably a less interesting story. And what I'll piggyback on what you're saying is you're right. Like, part of the journey of this movie is seeing, the different layers of Caesar. This is a new Caesar we haven't seen before. He's coming for blood. He's going to shoot first, ask questions later. In the past, where he's been more restrained, that's not the case in this. He's thirsty for revenge. And you see a more layered Caesar. You see a layered antagonist in Woody Harrelson. Like, at first we do think he's just this cold-hearted guy, and maybe he is exclusively, but you do see you get some peeling back of the layers with him. But what I'm saying here is, you're right. I'm not arguing that any human being, this would be potentially one of the actions, one of the paths they'd want to take that Caesar took, the revenge path. I'm not arguing that. But just going on a tangent here, there's a 2000 movie starring Mel Gibson where he plays...
Women want? Oh, no. Okay, different one.
It's called The Patriot.
Oh, yeah.
And he plays a parent during the Revolutionary War, and he's got, like, as all people did back then, he's got, like, 12 kids or whatever it is. But there's this interaction he has with his children, and they want to join and they want to fight for their country, and as a parent he's like, absolutely not. I have kids to think about, or there's the moral obligation of maybe he should fight, maybe he should do things, and he's a single parent. And the reason I'm getting at this is he has a line here, and I just googled it as a character. He says, "I'm a parent. I haven't got the luxury of principles. And so the context in that movie was people were asking him, can you spearhead a fight? Can you do this for us? And as a single parent, he said, I can't do that. I have a family to look after. Who will look after them if I'm gone? And for me, I'm not disagreeing with you that Caesar's reaction might be the most natural for some people. They might not act on it, but that would be the first thing, the revenge that comes to mind. I'm just asking, does he not have that philosophically, does he not have that obligation to say, you know what, I need to pocket that. I need to stay home with Cornelius. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking.
Maybe not, right? Because as much as like I was saying, as much as that pull inside of him is a humanizing element, he's not human, right? He is. They're still apes, and so to look at the decision purely through the lens of a human and to use other human examples to sort of support that, I think is flawed, because it is, apes have a pack mentality. They have and originally Caesar's supposed to be going off on this alone, right? Maurice is not supposed to be coming with him. This is a one-man murder mission. And so I think an argument could be made that an ape leaving their offspring with, even though he's not your garden variety ape, an ape leaving their offspring with other members of the herd or the colony to go off and do something is maybe not equatable entirely to you going off and pursuing a new career in a different province and dropping your toddler off at the neighbor's for the next 6 months, right? Like, I don't know that it's the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. Because of the pack mentality. That's an interesting
point. They're still animals, right? Like, yes, they are more humanoid or more human-esque than the apes that we have in our reality, but they're still apes.
And I feel like also just it's clear to make sure that we don't get into like the connotations of certain things that are used in this movie. Like when you're saying animals, you're not saying it in a negative way. You're just saying they are a different species than humans. So how they coexist and how they raise their young is different than how we think as humans.
Yeah, they're still. Yeah, they're
not human.
This species, literally, I mean, whatever the timeline of this franchise is so far, literally 20 years ago,
yes,
are living in zoos and swinging from trees in the jungle, and aren't communicating via. I mean, some have been trained in labs to sign with each other, but they're not who they are now, right? Like their evolution is happening at an unprecedented and rapid pace.
Yes.
And so there's still those lingering, they're kind of in this weird transition, right? Where they're smart enough to do these things, but there's still that slightly more primitive animal instinct inside of a lot of them, right? Because they're 20 years ago they lived in zoos and in the wild and weren't edging their way towards being the most intelligent creatures on Earth. Mm-hmm. So, or the dominant species.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, look, there's not a lot to say about the title of this film that we haven't already said. I do think this film has some misdirect, not only in its title, but if you look at the poster for this film, right? It's like Caesar on a horse with a spear ready to do battle, and in behind him are all the other apes ready to do battle. That doesn't happen in this
No.
film, right? And so you look at the poster and then you see the title that's on that poster, and that is promising you something other than what you get. Personally, I kind of like what we get better than I think I would like what that promises. So I don't have an issue with that per se.
Yeah.
But I do recognize it as maybe false advertising or sort of an odd misdirect. And I can see how people would have felt slighted by it.
Right.
I do think it's really funny though that the opening of this film is some text that's on the screen, right? There's there's a bit of an exposition dump, but it's also a callback where it's 3 paragraphs that come up one at a time. The first one has the word rise in it and highlights the word rise, and then the second one has dawn, and then the third one has war. And it was just like, I just laughed like out loud because I was like, yeah, we get it. We get that that's the order. I understand what order they came out in, you jackasses. I still think you effed up, but whatever. Teach their own. It's actually Matt Reeves' fault, right? Because when Rise came out, it was a different director, right, and you couldn't argue that one was out of order because I don't think there was a plan when they titled the first one, and the second one will be called Dawn. So it's Matt Reeves' decision to call the second one Dawn. That's like, what are you doing? But
we will move on. I am not engaging. I'm not. So you touched on it a bit. I don't know how much more there is to go into, but the motion capture. Listen.
Incredible.
I thought it was better. I thought the jump from Rise to Dawn was bigger than Dawn to War, and that's just me. That's just me personally.
Yeah. Okay.
But and I agree. I don't think there's. Although I don't agree with how drastic you think it was, I do agree it's phenomenal. Like, it's incredible in this movie.
Yeah, there's some wild shots where it's like, my God, it's like it's pouring rain, so the fur is wet. It's like wet CGI ape with mud and
that's true, actually.
and it just looks so good. And so that to me is wild. I think the two things that were a drawback CGI wise, like the two spots where it kind of fell a little flat, and admittedly, this is me looking at it with a super critical eye, right? This is me examining it for the sake of review, for the sake of critique. The two spots where I was like, yeah, I don't know, is the scene where Caesar's dying. All of a sudden, really? Caesar doesn't look that good.
Yeah,
it still looks great, right? And if you're not looking at it, examining and analyzing it, then it's probably completely serviceable. But compared to some of the other shots, and that was just such a bummer for me because I was like, I think it's because of the lighting. I think it's because they're doing it at like dawn or dusk or something, right? That you've got this like reddish glow, and maybe for whatever reason the CGI doesn't look as good in that lighting, and that was just a bummer to me because I was like, this is an important scene. Right, like this is a moment that I shouldn't be pulled out of by the way it looks.
If you only have so many bullets, save your good shot for the final climactic moment.
Yeah, and then the other thing was that like, both Caesar, I think there's a slight problem with both Caesar and Bad Ape. In the sense that they are both, of the apes in this film, those two are by far the most visually expressive.
Okay.
Right? Caesar, obviously, because he's our protagonist. You see a lot of emotions coming across Caesar's face. And as such, Caesar has a face that is probably not 100% ape-like, right? Like, it's still ape-like, but I think there's a little, especially in this film, there's a lot more Andy Serkis coming through
Right.
because there's so many emotions that Caesar needs to emote. And Bad Ape's kind of similar. Like, they gave Bad Ape a lot of humanisms in his facial expressions and stuff like that, which works great for you understanding what the characters are going through and experiencing. But because both of those creatures, or both of those characters, are a little more humanoid in the face, just slightly more humanoid in the face, sometimes when you're looking at it, it feels like something's a little off, right? It feels a little like something that doesn't exist in reality. And because it's something that doesn't exist in reality, and I guess particularly when Caesar is talking, because he's moving his lips and his mouth in a way that we don't see apes move their lips and their mouths, that can pull me out of it a little bit. Not because I'm like, oh, it's a talking ape, but just all of a sudden the facial CGI isn't as convincing to me because I think there's this thing that happens probably in human brains where we go, well, yes, it looks like the textures are good and the lighting is good and the whatever. It's a sharp image, 4K image, but my brain knows that's not real. My brain knows that's not real because I'm seeing something that isn't right. It's like, oh, you could never go, oh man, the CGI on Jabba the Hutt was just incredible. Well, the best CGI in the world, you're still not going to look at it and go, it looked so realistic because it's a giant space slug.
Wake up,
right?
babe! That new Jabba the Hutt CGI just dropped.
Yeah, right. So I think the CGI in this film is incredible, but I actually think the facial CGI on Caesar has more problematic moments than any other ape.
And hold on, I think that's maybe, and like I think that ties in to what works well in this series is because in the previous one, you sang the praises of the costume, the cosmetics, everything for the monkeys. And you're right, for the time, that was revolutionary.
Yeah.
But for me, the talking and the moving of the mouths, it still looked janky to me. And I think what...
Yeah, because there wasn't a lot of... Like, it was pretty rigid.
Yeah, and I think what really syncs well with this CGI is it doesn't push the envelope for testing the limits at times because they revert to sign language. There's so much not relying on those facial things. And sorry, I just think that's a point to bring up here where that's in line with the facial, the only two speaking monkeys are basically those two. And so, that I think that can raise some limitations of what the CGI can do is when they talk.
Like Maurice always looks great. Maurice always looks like I don't know that there's a bad shot of Maurice. I don't know in this film that there's a shot of Maurice where you're not completely convinced that that's just a real orangutan signing to other people on screen, right? It's just
Maurice. Maurice as a character is as shining and brilliant as he is a CGI feature.
Yes,
we love Maurice through and through.
But he's not the best character.
Why not? Who's better?
I mean, he's a great character. But the best character that we have seen in any of the Planet of the Apes films is Bad Ape.
He does provide... I'm curious why you're going to say what you're saying, but for me, I would agree because he provides this levity and this comic relief is a character who it gives us some emotional investment in, but also he does provide some levity.
I think that's a big part of it. He provides levity. He provides compassion. right?
Yes.
The fact that like he takes off his parka to give it to Nova is good. He also provides like it's before we ever get a shot of the military compound. It's through Bad Ape and through Bad Ape's fear and reluctance and refusal to return there, and is the terror in his face, that we get painted a picture of how severe a situation it is. Right? So Bad Ape is responsible for really kind of initiating our sense of stakes in this. And how, even before we know that our team has been captured, right? Even before we know that everyone's locked up there, we know that we're going there. And it's not until Bad Ape shows up and is refusing to return there and is so insistent on everyone just staying there. You know, my friends, you guys, my new friends here, Nova, this thing that I've hilariously told you not to touch twice, keep, right? This is, you keep, you guys stay here. We'll have a fire, the food, it's fine. Stay here. That's, yeah, the character serves so many different purposes. And is, of all CGI apes from any film ever made, has in the last 6 months been the biggest meme of any. I was so excited. I was like, here it comes.
Oh,
and then
no.
Brienne, who was standing in the background doing something in the kitchen, I was like, shh, watch, look,
It's happening.
Look. Yeah, and he's, oh no.
Oh, no.
Oh no. No.
See,
no. Right.
I couldn't remember if that was from this film or if it was from the current film.
No, because none of these characters will be in the new one, right? The new one is, the tagline of it is generations after Caesar. I think it's like 100 years later.
Oh, okay. I don't know much about it. I've wanted to keep it that way.
That's all I know. That's literally all I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and then I think it circles around maybe one of Caesar's descendants, I think. But I don't know. It might not be at all.
Sure.
It might have nothing to do with Caesar. I don't know. But yeah. So I genuinely think that this is a more interesting film than Dawn. Because there's a little bit more. The world has progressed a lot more in this one, right? Like the world, this is something we talked about a little bit in our review of Dawn with Marshall. And I brought up that, you know, in Rise, there's a lot of things that are happening, right? You have the creation of this, of this virus. You have the introduction of intelligence in apes. You have the uprising of the apes. You have there's sort of this, the first people are starting to get sick, are starting to get real sick, right? Those that have been exposed to the compound. James Franco's like lab partner guy is like coughing up blood and stuff.
Yeah.
And so's his dad, right? So's John Lithgow's character coughs up blood. And so there's a lot that kind of happens and changes. In the second one, I kind of feel like we're in a holding pattern, right? There's a lot going on screen, but the state of the world and our understanding of what's going on in the world doesn't change a lot. In this one, we have the introduction of other apes who can speak, right? Bad Ape speaks. Maurice speaks a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Learns, is picking up and learning. So you have this like, okay, the apes are becoming more intelligent. You have the mystery. Now, obviously, it's all revealed to us, and it's interesting, and it becomes, a part of how this world changes. But you have this sort of question mark as we're going along. Why can't this little girl speak? Why are there these three soldiers that can't speak and they've been executed by their group, right? What is going on there? So you have the virus that has now mutated and is going to inch us closer to, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Both the first film and this film move the needle closer to Planet of the Apes. The second one doesn't. The second one's got some great character development for Caesar. It's got some great tension. It's got some fighting. But the state of the world at the start of Dawn is really no different than the state of the world at the end of Dawn, right? The characters change, but the world itself doesn't.
So I feel like where you're going with this is like Dawn is the Dark Knight. Sorry, Dawn is to what Dark Knight is to the Batman Christopher Nolan series. That it's maybe not the most Batman-ish feeling movie, but it's the best. Is with sorry, that's how I would feel. Maybe that's a better way to say.
Yeah, I was going to say that's definitely not what.
Yeah, it's like to me, he's like, "Are you even listening to me at all?" It's not what I'm saying.
It's
no,
not
a better way to saying is maybe that's how I feel, or I guess just to the degree that Dawn is the strongest movie. Maybe it doesn't align most with what gets us to the Charlton Heston quote unquote Planet of the Apes-esque series. But yeah, I think what's a bit of a turnoff for War for me is in Dawn we had two groups, apes and humans, but it didn't matter what species we were. We were given insight to both, and you could empathize with both. You get Caesar's camp. You go, we're afraid. We've been existing in the woods. We feel safe. We don't want humans. Here we go. You get the human side of it where you go, we are down to running on fumes. We have no power. We need this dam. We have no ill will to these apes other than trigger-friendly, happy idiot who accidentally shoots an ape. But you both groups, you peel the curtains back and you can relate to both sides. You can empathize with both sides, and then things ensue that then escalate it and unfortunately takes it down different paths. But I think the difference in this one is you don't have that same back and forthness. Like all you have is it's almost like, for lack of a better term, you have these Nazis who are capturing people, put them in jail, want to kill people. Like it's hard to get behind Woody Harrelson's camp until eventually he spills his beans about emotionally what's happened and you get why he is the way he is.
At that point, you can empathize with him.
For sure, but for the previous portion of the film, you can't. So I think that's where it's a bit less roller coastery in this because you can really only side with the apes.
And I mean, I guess, and I don't disagree. And I guess that just comes down to like I think you and I are looking for different things in our Planet of the Apes films.
Sure.
Right? Because like I said, I think Dawn's a great film, right? I gave it a 7.
Yep.
But if you're looking at the three of them and you go, which one has Dawn does really great things for advancing who Caesar is. Right? Like Dawn's main thing that it achieves is Caesar is a different character at the end of that film than he is at the start.
Yep.
And he is in this film as well. Well, sort of. He like loses his way a bit and then finds his way back, which is just as valid of a character arc for a film. Mm-hmm. But so that works really well for you with Dawn.
Mm.
I think my beef with it, and the reason why I think this one sort of reins things back in and gets things back on track, is that
Sure.
if you're looking at the three films, if you were to put all three films up on the wall and ask someone, removing Caesar from it, removing individual characters, which of these films is inconsequential to the story of the Planet of the Apes, to how Earth went from what led to Charlton Heston kneeling on the beach, realizing that this is Earth and going, "You really did it, you sons of bitches." Right? Like, which film is inconsequential to that? Which film doesn't really matter when it comes down to how did we get from what we know to human being the cattle of apes and apes being the dominant species on the earth? The inconsequential one is Dawn.
Yep.
Right? Because it doesn't move that needle.
I think
it's just we're looking for different things.
Yeah, you're right. It just really depends what lens you view it through.
Yeah. Interesting.
And some would say Dawn is a better movie. Some would say War is a better. It's all just from a certain point of view.
Yes, Obi-Wan.
I love saying that now.
I got one more beef. There is something that I think is actually really dumb about
Sure.
this movie. Is the avalanche.
I mean, it seemed a little convenient.
But I mean, not even. Like, what does it change? What does it do? Right? It would be one thing if there was a way for the film to convey to us that every last surviving human on the earth is standing in this valley. Right? Because then the avalanche would be an extinction event. Right? And that would be significant. That would be, oh shit. Right? Now, that would create a degree of separation between this film and the Charlton Heston one, because obviously not all the humans are wiped out. And if you've seen a trailer for the fourth one, for Kingdom, we know that there are some very primitive humans, but there are some humans in the film. So we know that avalanche was not an extinction event. Mm. If the film could somehow convey to us that this was the last group of people who, and I think this is what it is trying to do, I think what its point is that this is the last group of humans that are going to be unaffected by or manage to avoid the virus. These are the ones that are not going to become primitive.
Yeah.
And I think that's their point, right? That this was sort of the last hope.
Yeah, and by what you mean is like all that remains are just other scattered groups that become nomadic and can't speak.
Right. But I think that's a stretch. Like, on what grounds? On what grounds are these people never going to, right? Because surely as they're cleaning, like, just in the act of cleaning out this base, someone's going to pick up that doll and go, well, shit. Right? Like, there's nothing that has me convinced that this group is, it'd be like if the world's last scientists were in this group, the ones that could maybe find a cure, the ones that could, there's none of that. They're just a bunch of soldiers get wiped out.
So hold on. Let me stop you right there, because I think that makes me feel more so the way I do about this movie being a bit of a standstill on the narrative front, on not really moving things forward. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing definitive about, exactly what you're saying. It's not wrapping up any significance in the human side of things on what it means from humanity. It literally just means this singular group was wiped out. What's the significance? I don't know.
No, I mean, I think what moves the needle, like the significance of the avalanche doesn't make sense. The significance of this film in moving the needle and what it means for humanity is that the virus has mutated and it is turning humans into mental mush.
Sure.
Right? Like that is the needle mover.
The takeaway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but Everything else I think is great. The soundtrack, I mean, you're the soundtrack guy.
It is,
but I think it's solid.
Yeah. No, I would agree. It adds to the story in a way that it's not distracting, and it blends well.
Yeah. Do you have anything else? Stuff you didn't like, stuff that you loved?
Not on a big. Sorry, let me use English. Not in the same significance that we've brought up before. I think just in a nutshell, the cinematography was great. Those long sequences on the beach are incredible. And you mentioned the soundtrack. The soundtrack really amplifies those moments. So I think that's really well. There were some times I thought at the beginning it was a little exposition heavy, where those, human prisoners are talking with Caesar. It slaps you in the face a bit. Part of me is like, you know what? If you're watching these Apes movies, you got a bit of an idea what's going on. We don't need to slap ourselves over the heads here. But no, I think the cinematography had some moments that were really well done.
Yeah, I noticed that. I don't always notice it in films, but I was noticing the way the camera was moving.
Yeah.
Whether it was. Okay, and then we cut to this shot, and they chose to slowly pan out. And what does that do, right? Like, what difference does the camera slowly panning out here versus the camera standing still or the camera slowly panning in? What has been achieved, and what was the decision behind having it pan out? And in most cases, I was able to go, oh, it's this. And yes, it elevates, or it creates this feeling of either emptiness or an example of this is when, shit's hit the fan in the camp and the one soldier is stumbling upon the empty ape cages and realizes they're all gone, right? The shot of him, because we see that first. We see a shot from inside the cage looking at the soldier approaching the gate, and the camera is slowly moving towards him. Then it cuts to a shot behind his back, and the camera's slowly moving out. And what that does, I think it does two things. It continues the direction of the camera. The camera was always moving in that direction. Our vantage point just changed. Right? So now we're looking in the opposite direction. The camera is still moving in the same direction. But the other thing that having it pan out and slowly revealing more and more of this massive empty cage presents more of it builds on that, the weight of their screw up, the predicament that's soldier that the military group is in, right? They're all gone is what it does. And so I think there's little subtle things like that if they're done well, unless you train yourself to sit and look and watch for it, which I've been trying to do. When they're done well, you don't notice them.
Right.
It's when you do notice, like, oh, the camera's moving here.
Right.
That's when you're like, yeah, that's when something. Same thing can be said because this is a CGI heavy movie. Now, obviously, there's some differences because we know that all the apes are CGI.
Right.
But there's so much CGI in this film that you don't realize, whether it's set extensions or, they've added mountains where there weren't actually mountains, or they've done, like, almost every film does that now, right? Changes the background, adds some planes into the sky, puts a tree in the background, like, does whatever. And 99.9% of all CGI shots now, unless it's like a character or a ship or something like this spaceship or something like that, you don't realize. You don't know they're there. And so I think camera movements are like good CGI. Real great CGI goes unappreciated because you don't notice it. You don't even know it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true.
You ready to rank this bad boy?
I think so.
Okay. Buckle up. I'm giving it a 9.2.
Oh my gosh.
I think there's definitely, like, I think the title's a misdirect, but actually a misdirect that I'm happy about. I think there's one or two moments where viewing it with a super critical eye, the CGI slips. But I think I'm being unfair in my analysis. I think I'm holding it to an impossible standard. But taking a step back and viewing it as a whole, the CGI is almost flawless. Like it's breathtaking. And I think either I've missed the point on the avalanche or it's a bad point. In either situation, it's a little bit of a demerit. But it's literally 90 seconds at the end of the film, right? It's not like, this whole plot point is garbage. It's just this like little thing. So, and it looks cool. I mean, it's wild, right? When Caesar's holding on to the tree and the snow's blasting them, and we see trees, like massive, massive trees being uprooted by the snow and all. Like it looks great. It's a fun sequence. I just don't know that I fully get why it's there, but a 9.2. I think this is by far the best Planet of the Apes film that we've watched so far. Like by far the best. And that makes me a little nervous. Like,
how do you match what's been done?
Yeah, it makes me nervous about the next one, right?
Yeah.
I'm like I don't see liking it better than this.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll like it just as much. That would be a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that it's going to, when I watched the trailer for it, now this was like 6 months ago or maybe more.
Sure.
But when I first watched the trailer for it, I remember thinking of the three that are already out, this one feels, just from the trailer, feels the most like Dawn. And so I don't know. Maybe it won't. We'll see.
We'll find out.
What do you give it?
I feel like I've gone a little bit hard on it.
Oh, God. Here we go.
I gave it a 6.
Ugh.
There's just, if
you feel like you're going too hard on it, you can change that number.
I just don't know if it's good enough to be a 7. I honestly don't. For me, a 7 qualifies for being good. 6 is just
6.5.
I don't know. I don't do half scores, and
you do sometimes, don't you?
Not typically. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for context, I gave the original Planet of the Apes a 6. So it's no worse. Just how it got to the 6 is just very, very different.
Right.
Because you're right. There's some spectacular things about this. The CGI, the music, the soundtrack. Sorry, the music and the soundtrack are the same. The cinematography and the soundtrack. But just overall, it doesn't click as much for me as the previous one. And I too worry that we've seen the best one already. For me, that was Dawn. For you, this is War. And it'll be interesting to see where we go with the final one.
Yeah, I'm curious real quick to pull up just the Rotten Tomato scores for each.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Actually, I can just do this. Planet of the Apes franchise Rotten Tomatoes. Usually there'll be a list.
Right, like a ranking or what have you.
We don't need to see all the old ones. So Rise of the Planet of the Apes had an 82 critic score and a 77 audience score. Dawn had a 91 critic score.
Actually, I feel like I kind of want to just go into this would be a good conversation for Kingdom.
Oh, I'm not gonna say what Kingdom is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Rise had an 82 and a 77, critic to audience. Dawn had a 91 to 88.
Okay.
So everyone liked it better.
Sure.
War had a 94 critic score and an 84 audience score. So 4% less on the,
Yeah.
on that. But I mean, pretty comparable.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Hopefully Kingdom is just as good.
Yeah.
But we shall see. I have no idea. I know very little of it.
Yeah. It should be fun.
So, have you watched anything since we last?
It's been a while. We've had some episodes, but just
Been a while.
It's been a while since we talked about what we watched. Yeah, I watched a 2024 documentary called Getting Lost. It's basically exactly what it says. It's a documentary revisiting the global television phenomena that was Lost. It features, actually, it's pretty cool. It does feature a lot of cast and crew. It gets into just not only just the social dynamic of the show it had on social media at the time and pop culture, but it's just a fun, interesting, informative documentary because it's been 20 years since it debuted. So I watched Getting Lost and I gave it a 7 out of 10. I watched 1998's The Parent Trap with what's her name? Oh man, Lindsay Lohan.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just one of your 90s movies. I think I gave it a 6 out of 10. You know, it's fun. It is what it is.
You know, I've never seen that or the original.
I've never seen the original. I don't think I have a need to. I watched the 90s one. It was campy enough. I had some fun with it. Dennis Quaid is ridiculous. Like, he's just... what do you say? But, yeah, it was a 6 out of 10. It's fun. I have no need to revisit the original one from the 60s, I think it is. And then I watched, this is back from when we had some Christmas movies on, another Lindsay Lohan movie called Our Little Secret from 2024. It was a 5 out of 10. It's one of those modern comedies you watch where you go, it was all right. Had some moments that made me laugh, but it makes you yearn for those comedies from 10, 15, 20 years ago that just, I don't know if it's the budget that they had or the writing was better or just things hit more. But this movie just seemed like your dime of the dozen, Netflix originals that, is adequate, but it wasn't great. So Our Little Secret, 5 out of 10. And the last thing I watched was a 2017 Pixar film called Cars 3. I gave it a 5 out of 10. It was adequate. I liked Cars 1 a little bit better. I skipped Cars 2. That's what I read online. It said you don't need to watch Cars 2. Not only is it bad, but there's nothing really in the canon that you need from Cars 2. And it was fun. It was serviceable. It was funny, heartwarming at times. And it was what it was. It's not in the upper tier of Pixar by any means, but it was still fun. I don't regret watching it.
Okay.
What did you watch this period of time? Usually we say this week, but what did you watch this
well, I mean, I'm only going to cover the ones that I've covered since the last time I talked to Carl, because
Right.
everything else I've already talked
Chatted
about. I don't want to bore the listener. But last night, I watched the new Robert Zemeckis film.
Oh.
Starring Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Reuniting Tom Hanks, Robert Zemeckis, and Robin Wright, since the last time they all worked together was Forrest Gump. Paul Bettany's in it. Some other people, not really anyone who I think would jump out at. I watched the movie Here. which is a hour and 45-minute film where the camera is never moves. We watch hundreds of thousands of years of history in one spot. There's
That's
no
cool.
cuts. I mean, there's cuts, but all of the cuts happen through, like, there's never a hard cut, right? Like it almost happens in like a comic book kind of way where like the camera will be sitting there and something will be happening, and then a square will open up somewhere in the screen showing you the different time period, and then the
Right.
rest of the screen will fade to match it. So there's never like and then the camera, and then it cut to black and came back. No, it's like in the same spot, you see dinosaurs, Native Americans, the colonial, like, Benjamin Franklin era stuff,
So cool.
World War II stuff,
Yep.
COVID-19 stuff.
Oh, jeez.
Like it's all in the camera, and it's just like put on a tripod and it never moves. And so it's interesting. I would say it's a good film. For sure, a good film. I would recommend it.
Nice.
There's one or two things afterwards Brianna and I were talking about. I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know why they decided to do that, or I don't know what the point of this was. And so as much as I really liked it, I think I was hoping it would be more amazing than it was. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
I'd probably give it like a 8.5,
That's still very solid.
but I was kind of hoping for like a 9.5
Yeah.
type of thing. But it's still super good.
Oh, man. Juicy.
And I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wrap it up, sir.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. We truly appreciate you. We I don't know what else we appreciate, but we appreciate your listenership, your interaction with us. Check out our socials below. Check out our Patreon page, our merchandise page. Help us pay the bills. Help us give you some perks back to supporting us. Stay tuned as we approach the finale of wrapping up this Planet of the Apes series, and just stay tuned in general for other new releases, other first-time watches with Carl and Brady, and for upcoming votes as well. And until next time, don't smell dolls, because they might make you sick.